Welcome to the most listened to golf in the world, the Fairways of Life show, on air, online, and around the world, with the most candid interviews, unforgettable stories, taking you beyond the ropes. Here's your host, New York Times best-selling author Matt Adams.
Can't really describe the feeling of, dreaming of just coming and playing on the PGA Tour, to be sitting at home, with a girl I dated in high school, with our child, and then the green jacket sitting in the closet is a pretty insane feeling. And I just, wanted to be as thankful as possible. But I think the human heart is always, striving for more, and the competitiveness in me is, it doesn't really allow me to reflect really that much.
Why does it feel like when we're talking about Scottie Scheffler that the human heart that's always striving for more that he's talking about doesn't seem to impact him the way that it affects others? You know what I mean? He seems insular in terms of outside forces, expectations, or even internal ones impacting him. Mark Carnevale is joining us live from Valhalla this morning. He is the 1992 Arnold Palmer Award recipient. That is for Rookie of the Year. And this week he will be a part of Sirius XM radio coverage. They call themselves PGA Championship Radio. This week, Carney is joining us, I believe, from inside of their studios this morning. Carney, how are you? What's going on?
Good morning, Matty. Just reflecting on those comments from Scottie Scheffler. I think that's, and before we go into anything else, it just really makes me admire him, the way he handles himself. And very unusual in this day and age that the best player in any sport is able to compartmentalize so many different things and really put the emphasis on what he believes and his family believes is important. And that's unusual, and I have a lot of respect for him for that.
I'm trying to compare him historically, and my mind, and I'm not trying to be unfair, and I'm not trying to be sensationalized. I'm just trying to understand the mindset and that ability to compartmentalize, as you phrased it, Carney. It kind of reminds me of a Jack Nicklaus back in the day where, yeah, I play golf and I'm very good at it, and my mind is one of my chief attributes in the competitive arena. But when it's all said and done, I'm also going to be there for my kids' games, et cetera, et cetera. Is that a fair comparison? Would you have another one?
No, I think that's pretty fair. I think, and what sort of the sidebar to all that is, and as someone who's played this game and certainly been around it and watched it, and certainly watched other sports and athletes, I got to believe that makes them play better. And certainly Jack, you could sort of correlate that with Jack, and obviously with Scottie, that because they're able to separate their profession in a lot of ways from their private and personal life and emphasize that more so than their profession, I actually think that allows them to play better. And I think it's a very fair comparison.
Is there any concern with Scottie Scheffler, or is he such an outlier that we don't have in this area? Is there any concern of rust when he comes back and for what he's gone through? Now he's a new dad and all the rest, or is he going to pick up right where he left off?
I would imagine, the break, and we always talk about it all the time. Players talk about having rust, like you used. I don't think it's rust, because you don't ever forget how to play the game. It's that competitive side of it, that getting in that mix. Is 3 weeks. What is it? Is it 3 weeks a month? So I know he skipped New Orleans, Dallas, and I guess he's missed 3 weeks. Is that correct?
I don't think it's quite that long, but yes, effectively.
Yeah, I don't see. I don't think that's it, because I'm sure he spent time practicing. He was there for his wife as she gave birth to their first child. I think he put time in. But I also think it's a good thing, too, to get away from it, because when you think about it, he won 4 times in 5 weeks. I think that shows that his game is where he wants it to be. I don't think you lose it. Certainly, you could say the distraction of having the child is more important, and he's even admitted that. But no, I don't expect to see him come out and do anything different than he always does.
Absolutely fascinating. Are you going to see Scottie this week? Have you seen him? Or do you even know what your assignment schedule is yet?
I will be covering his group tomorrow afternoon, so I'll see a lot of them on Thursday. I haven't seen him yet. I just arrived. I arrived yesterday afternoon. and it's been raining, and it's currently raining now, so I haven't even been out on the golf course. Hopefully we get some breaks in this. I don't see any players on the golf course at the moment. They again, they've had moisture the last couple of days, and it's going to be a challenge. Tomorrow's supposed to be okay based on what I understand, and then certainly a possibility over the Friday and the weekend. But no, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be interesting to follow him to see how, I mean, is it a response? I don't know. I mean, we can classify it however, people get interested in it. But I think, I feel very privileged to be out there with him. So I'm excited about it.
Do you like the golf course? Do you like it as a stage for a major championship?
I was here in 2008 at the Ryder Cup. I was here for 2014. I know that they've made some changes to it. They've added some yardage. They've made some adjustments on some of the holes. I think it's certainly good theater. Again, I haven't been out on the golf course yet, so I haven't really seen. Uh, the sort of the sad part is because we're getting the moisture, so it's going to be soft. It's a long golf course, going to have an advantage without question to the longer hitters. So I think the venues are great, Matt. But I think what ultimately is the key to whether or not, I think, in my opinion, and certainly maybe the public can agree or disagree, I think the competition is what really brings it all out. And I think I would expect we're going to have another great competition here this week, which, again, I think highlights not only the field, but it also then ultimately highlights the golf course that the competition is on.
Yeah, I mean, so much of that competition has rightfully been focused on the defending champion in Brooks Koepka, the play of Rory McIlroy coming in, obviously the play of Scottie Scheffler. When you look at those three, are they the three chief storylines when we're talking about inside the ropes, which is odd to have to qualify that at a major championship, but nonetheless?
Well, certainly if you look at the most recent winners and certainly the game, the names in golf with their competitions on different tours. In Brooks's case, having coming off a win on the Live Tour, Rory coming off the win at Wells Fargo, and Scottie. The interesting thing, we talk about the high that Scottie was on after winning, obviously the Masters again, following up with the win at the RBC Heritage. Imagine what the adrenaline he's going to feel now as a father. That's might be the biggest win when you look at it. I think certainly so, but as we always know, there are other stories that are going to, fold in. I know that John Rahm made some comments yesterday that people have responded to. The biggest thing, and this is what sort of bothers me. I was talking to Dom about this before you came on here. Drama was always on the golf course with golf. Now we've got so much drama off it. And I know that certainly probably gives people clicks and it's more popular in social media. But I always like to have the drama on the golf course. But now we have it off it. And unfortunately, I think that makes us like every other sport where for the longest time golf was, I wouldn't say immune to it, but it sort of distinguished itself separately by not really having that drama outside of the ropes.
Well, it certainly carried itself with a degree of dignity, perhaps, that other sports didn't have. That didn't necessarily mean that drama wasn't happening behind the scenes. We just weren't aware of it. As to what John Rahm said, for those of you that may not have heard it, to react to Carney's comments, here is John Rahm yesterday, and he was asked the question about being over there or outside the tour, and he was like, whoa, let me redefine this. This is from yesterday's press conference.
So you guys keep saying the other side, but I'm still a PGA Tour member, whether suspended or not. I still want to support the PGA Tour. And I think that's an important distinction to make. I don't feel like I'm on the other side. I'm just not playing there. That's, at least personally. I haven't really spoken enough to know about what's going on the board, and obviously people are not going to be willing to be sharing that information with me since I'm no longer a part of those discussions. So I'm going to say what I've said all along. I hope we reached a resolution, and a resolution that's beneficial for everyone.
To me, Carney, it seems like his comments were intended to be an olive branch, but instead some people have seen it as though he took out a stick and whacked the PGA Tour. Which side do you fall on?
Yeah, I think so. I kind of tend to agree with some of what John said. I mean, he's won on the PGA Tour. He's won many times on the PGA Tour. That's something they can't take away from you. Do you lose your memory? Again, I don't know enough of the details of what everything has done. I mean, that's part of the, my challenge and I wouldn't say my issue is that I don't personally know enough of what everything is going on. So is he suspended? I don't know. I thought he lost, his privileges was revoked, but suspended. I don't know. But I look, at some point we have to come to some agreement. Golf, while, we've had this, I think it's 3 years now, 2.5 years run of this. Uh, it's time to get down to business. I would like to see something. I don't know how they're going to resolve it, but I don't know if it was an olive branch for John. I mean, it's if you've never talked to him or interviewed him, John is sneaky, kind of funny, in a sense of he will say things that most people won't say, and he even said it there. He says, "Look, I speak what's on my mind."
Yeah.
What a lot of other players don't. So I I don't know. And again, I go back to the drama. It's so hard to understand or even get a sense of what's going on. Again, I think golf needs it to have to come to some agreement. I just don't know how you satisfy uh, everybody in trying to come to an agreement.
But Carney, if you were sitting at home right now and you heard us play that sound, you heard this conversation that we're having about John Rahm, aren't the people in the right place to be annoyed by the fact that I didn't start this by asking you, what do you think of John Rahm's chances this week? Instead, we're reacting to outside the rope stuff that he said at a press conference.
I agree. I would just, again, that was kind of the point I was trying to make, is we never had this kind of drama. I think it's affected people, the viewership, the listenership. I think golf fans are turned off by a lot of this. I mean, it's a lot of very rich men complaining about uh, you know sort of in a lot of people's lives very irrelevant things. It just looks kind of petty in ways, and I lump myself in there because I am a member of the PGA Tour, and it's was my profession and how I talk about it and cover it and broadcast about it, but it's not a good look for us for this game. That's why I said, I mean, for the longest time, you talked about character and dignity. We had it. Yeah, there were things, as you mentioned, there were things that happened outside the ropes, but now everything outside the ropes is, I mean, you're putting it right inside the arena every time because everybody's like sort of waiting uh, every word anyone says. Well, what's Liv doing? I get asked that question all the time, and I have no idea. That's, I think people and I think fans, and I'm not speaking for anybody other than myself. I think golf fans want a better sense of what's going on. What are we going to be able to look forward to? Is it just 4 events a year that these guys are going to get together, or are we actually going to see the best in the game play against one another?
We asked a question yesterday. Would you take, say, Brooks Koepka, Rory McIlroy, in Scottie Scheffler, or the field? The vast majority of our audience in the survey took those three against the field. When we were coming into the Masters, and feel free to comment on that, Carney, by the way. When we were coming into the Masters, we had three as well. We were talking about Brooks. We were talking about Rory. We were talking about Scottie, sure, but we had John Rahm in the mix. He ended up finishing tied for 45th. So I revert back to the question I used in the example, actually, and ask you, what do you think of John Rahm's chances this week? Do you notice any, and I realize he's a fiery, emotional guy anyway, but do you notice any extra fuel in that fire this week in determination?
Well, we know he has it, and that's sort of the unknown with John because we as people that cover the game haven't seen it on a regular basis. The Masters is the most recent one. I still believe there is a factor in the setup that Liv uses. I think Brooks is he's proven to be an anomaly. Matt, being able to do what he's done while pursuing that. I think that's the mindset. But John is one that I think has always wanted to be the best, and you have to wonder. Of course, it was less than 6 months ago when he made that decision to move to live. Um, I think it's a factor. You can't count him out, but I think, having covered him, having talked to him, it's got to be bothering him now. I think the key is, can he use that to his advantage? And certainly the talent is there, uh, but I think we'll get it. We'll get a good sense of it this week.
Another player that there's tons of question marks surrounding, of course, is Justin Thomas. He's the hometown boy. He's obviously had success at the PGA Championship. He was asked about the pressures that he's feeling this week. Here's JT.
I've never experienced it. I've never played a professional tournament, let alone a PGA in my hometown. So I'm sure it'll be some new feelings, some good feelings, but it's going to take it in and try to, use it to my advantage. Use the energy, the support to try to kind of get me going and push me along as the week goes.
All right, Carney. So if we had it on some type of measure, is JT closer to finding it, contending, winning, or is he still searching? Where is he on that dial?
I think he's closer to finding it. Again, the breakup of he and Caddy Jim Mackay. Again, I think it's a good thing for JT in the sense that he is, doing things, kind of the way he needed to, which I think is, he's a player that I think is a shot maker, and there was always a lot of discussions. And again, it's nothing against Bones as a caddy. I just, having followed Justin a lot previously, um, just knowing what I saw. And again, it's you have that advantage, as you know, Matt. When you're here, you see different things. I think the confidence is coming back. I think certainly this week could help him more with that, with the boost of energy from the local crowd. It's hard playing in your hometown. Can he? Is it at this point in his career? Is that enough, or does he feel internal pressure, which is very understandable? But I see it getting better for him. I think he's, is he back to winning? He's certainly capable of it, but that's all about confidence. You talk about it, players talk about it all the time. It's the greatest thing when you got it, and when you lose it, it's the hardest thing to get back. And I think it's all a process, but I think he is on the right direction. He's got a good caddy on his bag that's been successful. And I hope that it turns, because Justin Thomas playing good golf is really good for the game.
Jordan Spieth is another player that there's a lot of question marks surrounding. It seems as though Jordan often is, how do I phrase it, battling voices in his own head. We do know, however, that he's also dealing with a physical issue with his left wrist that has been discussed a great deal recently. Jordan addressed the media yesterday about this week that it almost seems like, as incredible as this sounds, like it's being underplayed, that he's playing to try to win a career Grand Slam.
It's the one that's eluded me so far, and it would be pretty incredible to work my way into contention and have a chance this week and see if I can try to make that history. I'm aware. It's very cool, but I would take any and all and as many majors as possible, regardless of where they come. There's just not many people in the game that have done that, and you have an opportunity to do things that are very unique in the game of golf. That's what kind of stands out, that stands the test of time afterwards. So, yeah, anytime we come to these weeks, the idea is to have prep to try to peak for, really 4 times a year, and this is one of them.
So, Carney, how close do you think Jordan Spieth is to playing golf versus playing swing?
Yeah, I think that's the problem. I think you hit it right there, Matt. I think that's what I see when I followed him out there. It's again, I think all these guys overthink the game way too much anyways. And I think Jordan certainly shows that when he's out there playing. The thing that stands out, and this is with the best players in the world, not just Jordan Spieth, what I find very interesting is those players tend to, and again, in my mind, having been out here and played out here, mess up the easy shots. And we say easy shots, the one that really doesn't require a whole lot of thought into it. It's pretty obvious what you need to do. And I think, it's just like with JT. I think you don't think golf, you play golf. You don't think golf swing, you play. And I think that is the hardest thing for some of the best players in the world to do when they've struggled with something, is to be able to go play golf. It's easy to say, but I see it all the time because you're overthinking it. I mean, you never, you go back to when you were a kid and you went out there, and whether you were a junior, I mean, you weren't thinking all this other stuff. You saw where the golf ball was, you saw where you needed to hit it, and you hit it. And there's just so many other factors. I mean, do you factor in the money and the FedEx Cup points, the trophies, whatever? Sure. But I think we overthink it. It's a game. And a lot of times I think players get in their own way. And I think Jordan is one that has gotten his own way sometimes by overthinking the process.
Scottie, Brooks, Rory, or the field? Who do you got?
I got those three for sure. I I did that at the Masters. I took Scottie against the field. I'll take him again this week.
It's remarkable that we're having this conversation. That reminds us of, the last time we had a conversation of this sort was the guy that's teeing off at 8:04 a.m., Tiger Woods. He's playing alongside Adam Scott and Keegan Bradley. Tiger was asked the obligatory question and gave the obligatory answer yesterday about the state of his game.
My body's okay. It is what it is. I wish my game was a little bit sharper. Again, I don't have a lot of competitive reps, so having to rely on my practice sessions and getting stuff done either at home or here on site. End of the day, I need to be ready mentally and physically come Thursday. These days of practicing, getting on the golf course, and it's one of the reasons I came up here on Sunday. Just knock off some of the work that I have to do and charting greens, get all that stuff done early, and so I can focus on literally playing and plotting my way around. Yeah, I still feel that I can win golf tournaments. I still feel I can hit the shots and still feel like I have my hands around the greens and I can putt. I just need to do it for all 4 days, not like I did at Augusta for only 2.
So, Carney, everybody's reacting the same way to Tiger, right? But honestly, what else do we expect him to say? What else answer do you want from him other than for him to say, yeah, I'm here because I believe that I can win? You don't expect him to go, look, I think I'm going to struggle to make the cut. I don't, but again, I'm not trying to lead you. Where do you fall on what you just heard? What are your thoughts?
It would be out of character if he didn't say that. I mean, he said it from day one that he's here to win golf tournaments, and we know how strong the mental aspect of his game is, and it's going to need to be stronger now than it even was before, and that's hard to even imagine. As tough as he was, because the physical aspect and the golf aspect, the physical act of playing golf is not where it was. He's admitted that. So it's almost as he's got to be tougher. If anyone could do it, it would be him, without question. It's just going to be a challenge. I think, like with anybody, that's always been at the top of their sport, the hardest thing for them to do is to walk away from it. We know he enjoys it out here. We know he loves playing the game. He likes being out. He said it many times. He likes being out here with the guys. At some point it's going to happen that he won't. As long as he still believes, who are we or who's anybody to say you can't do it? Now, the likelihood, maybe not, but you can't tell someone talented that if they believe in themselves, they can do it. You can't say they can't do it because he's proven us wrong time and time again.
And I know from a fan's perspective, we all hope that he's going to prove us wrong again, or at least be in the mix. For I think fans of any sport get excited when they know that they are actually watching the prospect of history being made. All right, so Carney, I do have to ask you one of the outside the rope questions again. Apologize in advance, but you are still a member of the PGA Tour. I'm looking for clarity on something. We have always been told that the PGA Tour is a member-owned tour, that you, PGA Tour players, own the PGA Tour. But recently, with the creation of the PGA Tour Enterprises, which took the commercial properties of the PGA Tour and folded it under that entity a for-profit commercial entity, and then players were granted vested equity in that entity. I'm confused here. I thought you guys owned the PGA Tour. Now we're finding out you don't own what are their chief assets, which is all their commercial assets, which is the real money that's coming in. I'm just confused. Can you help explain to us what's going on here? Is it yours or isn't it?
Well, it was my understanding that throughout the years we were the owners. Things happened that I certainly questioned. This certainly questioned, but I thought it was very interesting when we had been told that for so many years, and I've had many conversations with guys who played out here. I mean, I'm still a member, but I don't play anymore. I don't play competitively anymore, but I still pay my annual dues. It's hard because I've always been one, don't tell me, show me. And when they came out and I heard that, I thought it was just very amusing that, well, now they'll actually, you'll be owners. Well, I thought we always were. I don't know enough. I wondered how they were going to be able to equitably distribute that or put a value on it. A lot of people have created the tour the way it is. A lot of people were part of that. I understand that it's a different world than even when I started playing on the PGA Tour, and you go back to the late '60s when they broke away from the PGA of America and so forth. So many people have done this. Again, I think that even goes back to how are you going to come up with a good an equitable agreement to say, okay, those guys can come back and play. My biggest thing is there's not enough information, and there's not, as a member, I don't have enough information. I don't like that. Again, I'm not saying I've earned any more than anyone else, but I think I've earned at least the right to understand what's happening to the entity that I am truly believed in and have loved my entire professional career.
I'm not asking you to reveal anything, Carney, believe me. But it's clear that who's getting the grants, how much they're getting individually is on a lockdown, because it was our understanding that information was released and that those individuals know where they stand in terms of how much of a vested grant that they're going to be given or have been given already. My question is, and again, you decide whether there's propriety in answering this or not. Do you, as a PGA Tour member, know who the 36 players are that are going to be benefiting from the $750 million in invested grant, and they're on down in the next level and the next level and in the Legends level?
I've heard rumors of who, but I have never been given a list or been said, hey, this is what we're going to do. So. I'm not, people could say, well, you're crying over, I'm not. I am more concerned about the body of the PGA Tour, what it represents. And if, people have earned money and, you could use an example, has Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods earned that? I would say probably yes. Who am I to say no? I mean, Tiger Woods certainly one of the reasons why I sort of had a job with PGA Tour Radio to begin with. So that's not that. There's just not to me, there's just not enough information. So I don't know. I have not heard any specific numbers as to who gets what. And, I think then, how do you define that? How do you separate that? I think is the interesting part. And who are the people that are deciding this? That's would be my question is, who is making this decision? So I am certainly up in the clouds like everybody else. I really don't know.
That's fascinating. And there's some part of me that wants to apologize to you that I even had to ask these questions.
No.
But I have a feeling that we're not we're not around the corner where that's going to be behind us, and we're able to focus solely on what's going on in between the ropes, which both of us would rather be doing. However, we are very much looking forward to your work this week. SiriusXM PGA Championship Radio, as they will be calling themselves throughout the course of the week. We're looking forward to all of your coverage. I know you're going to have fun following that Scheffler group tomorrow, Carney, as ever. Thank you very much for your insights. Thank you very much for your time, my friend.
You got it, Matty. You know, I'll always answer a question if I have an answer to it.
I appreciate that. That's why we love you. All right, more of the Fairways of Life show coming up, folks. Amongst the things that we're going to talk about today, there were some news items that were released in the last 24 hours. It's going to impact Rory McIlroy's press conference, no doubt, coming up in just a little while. Today, we want to talk about what's going on with the weather. You heard Carney talk about the fact that it was raining right now. What are the prospects? How well is this place going to drain as we move forward? And if you are so inclined to put down a few dollars here and there on some bets, I'm going to give you 3 today that are dark horses that I think you could do very, very well with. We'll get to that in just a little bit as well, and we'll find out what the question of the day is. The PGA Tour Superstar is the presenting sponsor of the Fairways of Life show. If you need it, 100% guarantee they have it. In fact, in the next major during the U.S. Open up at Pinehurst, we're going to be broadcasting live one of the days from the PGA Tour Superstore in the Raleigh area. Shop with the pros at your happy place.
Every January, PGA Tour Superstore pros meet every manufacturer, learn about the latest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls. All so they can get you the perfect fit.
In Ireland, golf is more than just a game. Come and experience our world-famous links courses and our world-famous Parkland courses, all set alongside world-famous scenery. And visit our world-famous historic sites. And while you're here, enjoy our world-famous hospitality. Fill your heart with Ireland at ireland.com/golf.
Ben Hogan Golf Equipment is back. Established in 1953, we serve golfers who demand excellence of their equipment. Designed by the game's best engineers, forged in the world's best foundries, and built to order in the USA. Don't settle for off-the-rack disappointment. Elevate your game with custom clubs at direct-to-consumer pricing. Exclusively at benhogangolf.com. That's benhogangolf.com.
The Gen 6 iron is a culmination of everything that we have learned as a team, the absolute best golf club I've ever hit. It's something special. Say hello to the new PXG Gen 6 iron. The longest, most accurate irons we've ever made. They go higher and farther than any iron that I have hit to date, and they're so easy to hit. Super excited for the consumer to try this. They're gonna love them.
PXG, nobody makes golf clubs the way we do, period.
Baseball? Nah. Football? Done it. I think I'm going to go after PGA Tour.
Playing on the PGA Tour is not easy. But you know what is easy? Hitting the 524 series from Tour Edge.
Getting linebackers and home runs used to be easy.
Out here, you're going to need all the easy you can get. Introducing the 524 series from Tour Edge. The easiest clubs you'll ever hit. Even the best players in the world can use a little easy.
I like the sound of that. Look out, PGA Tour.
Pound for pound, nothing comes close.
Boyne Golf provides the ultimate world-class golf destination with 10 championship-caliber courses spanning 3 resorts. Centered in Michigan's northern Lower Peninsula, the courses are the products of some of the game's masters, including Robert Trent Jones Sr., Arthur Hills, and Donald Ross. From the all-inclusive vacation packages, elite instruction with the Boyne Golf Academy, tournaments, and so much more, Boyne Golf truly offers an unrivaled Michigan golf vacation experience. Just log on to BoyneGolf.com. Welcome back to the Fairways of Life show, PGA Championship week, as we sit on the eve of this 2024 PGA Championship. How will it be defined? Weather is very much a part of the question. You heard Carney just talking about that. By the way, when I was talking about Rory addressing the media, he is, and it's not something that's coming about because of the news. He was always was scheduled. That will be at 1 p.m. Eastern time today. I stand corrected. 3 p.m. It's been moved. Apparently, it's been moved 3 times. They're telling us, but full credit to Rory that he's going to sit up there and address the media. You can see Brooks at noontime, Ludwig at 11 a.m. I know a lot of people are backing him this week. The PGA news conference at 1:30 is when basically the organization gets together and kind of gives their perspective on what's going on in the world of golf. So let's talk about what's going on with the weather because again, I think it's unfortunately becoming more and more prominent in terms of what's happening. Tomorrow, they're talking about partly cloudy weather. Now, that is an improvement from where we were. Rain probability of 20%. So it would look like they're going to get through. Winds are relatively benign. You get on the high side of that at 12 miles per hour. If they're hitting straight into it or if it's a heavy cross, it could impact, but not that much. Half a club, maybe, whatever. Friday is the issue. Showers and thunderstorms are likely 80%. 80%. You can see the rain totals in there are also concerning for a golf course that's already wet. Now, this is a golf course that was built in 1986, and they've done work on it nonstop. So it's going to have all the modern drainage engineering plus that which Mother Nature provide, which are those streams that run through Floyd's Fork and all the rest, classic names, that run through the property that's going to carry away a lot of that water. But nonetheless, if there's lightning and standing water, then it has the potential of delaying play. And this is on Friday before the cut. So we'll have to see what impact that has on the play. And I want to go into some of the tee times accordingly in just a little bit. Saturday, there still is a chance of showers and thunderstorms. And by comparison, because Friday is 80%, you look at Saturday, it's only 40%. 40% is a pretty high chance of something coming through at some time, where I suspect they're going to be trying to finish the second round and start the third, which means that Sunday is going to be it's going to be a race because you got to, whatever holes you got to finish up to complete and get to that where you were. It's going to be an exhausting week, I think, for the players. 20% chance on Sunday, no real threat there to speak of. So we start okay. We're bookend with being all right. It's not bad, but in the middle, it's definitely questionable. So let's take a look at some of those featured tee times. Ludwig going off at 7:35 alongside of Xander and JT. You heard JT talking about, playing in front of the home crowd, all the rest. 8:04, Tiger Woods, Adam Scott, Keegan Bradley. So they're going to get low winds. They're going to get a soft golf course. 8:15, Rory McIlroy, Dustin Johnson, Justin Rose. At 8:26, Cameron Smith, Hideki Matsuyama, and Victor Hovland. What's going on with Victor? It's like he's just gone silent, right? 8:37. And maybe he was asked to come in and didn't address the media, didn't want to, or was he not asked? Either way, it's odd. 8:37, Brooks Koepka, Max Homa, and Jordan Spieth. And then in the afternoon, 2:02 p.m., Ricky Fowler, John Rahm, Cameron Young. At 2:13 p.m., Wyndham Clark, Brian Harman, and Scottie Scheffler. And that's just some of the notable players that we picked that you thought you guys would be interested in. All of that is out there, and there's so many different ways that you can take in the coverage. ESPN is going to have the early coverage, and it starts early. Tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., you can catch the coverage on ESPN+. That'll go all the way up till noontime, and then when you get to noon, you go all the way up till 8 p.m. Good long days of broadcasting golf. Friday, again, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. on ESPN+, and then 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. on ESPN. Saturday and Sunday, it's split early between ESPN+, 8 to 10 a.m., then 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on ESPN, and then 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. on CBS is the schedule that they are anticipating. Okay, so that's kind of a look at where we stand right now. Dom, what did you do today? I'm curious about two things. One, what did you do today with the question of the day? And two, what are you hearing from people in terms of reactions to anything and all the things that we were talking about today with Carney or otherwise?
Well, I mean, the reactions are wide-ranging, as you would imagine, and cover everything that you and Karn talked about, all of which was fascinating. I mean, you're not going to get more insight anywhere, right? You got a tour winner he was doing this on tour for hundreds and hundreds of starts and years, and now he's been in there inside the ropes covering it for whatever, 15 years, however long he's been doing it. So he's about as plugged in as you can get. And my takeaway from him off the golf course was, I don't know what's going on. And if I don't know what's going on, no one knows what's going on. So that was interesting. But to the on-the-course stuff, my question of the day relates directly to a lot of what he was talking about, especially at the beginning when he was mentioning Scottie Scheffler and his ability to compartmentalize. The question of the day is, who is the strongest mentally? Who is the strongest mental golfer right now? Rory, Brooks, or Scottie? Who has the most mental strength from that group? And I kind of expected this, but it's still interesting. Rory is at 2% right now. So unequivocally, everybody's just like, it's definitely not him. He doesn't have the mental strength. Ironically, he just won 2 tournaments in a row, but okay. Brooks Koepka's at 54%, right? The major killer. And Scottie Scheffler is at 44%. Now, these numbers are moving and shifting, but essentially it's split between Brooks and Scottie right now, which is interesting. And you heard Carney talking about essentially Scottie's ability to compartmentalize is elite, like beyond elite. That's where he is. That's a separator. And that's interesting to me. There's, as far as the comments coming in, and we do appreciate them and keep them coming. I love it. We love it. This is what the major championships are all about. You name the guy, and there's 25 comments about that guy based on whatever you and Carney were talking about. So you guys started talking about Spieth. People started talking about Spieth. Oh, he's a head case. Oh, he'll never figure it out. He's got it. People talking about his wrist. That's something I haven't heard a lot about. I know you spent some time on Golf Channel talking about it. I do think that his wrist injury is borderline serious and probably causing a lot of these problems mechanically. There's a lot of discussion about John Rahm, and a lot of that discussion centered around non-golf stuff, the fact that he is flip-flopping between LIV and the Tour, and what does it mean, and is it okay or not okay that he's doing that and saying these things?
Yeah, I don't think it's a flip-flop.
Which is, again, I think it's understandable.
Right along, but go ahead.
Yeah, so, again, there's a lot coming in. It's fascinating. One minor side note I'd like to provide is the weather that I have seen is a little bit the opposite of what you were saying. I actually think that there will be rain on Friday, but it is less likely to impact golf in comparison to Saturday. I know that right there doesn't say that on the screen. It says that Friday is going to be worse than Saturday.
Where are you getting your information, and where did the information come from that we're showing the world right now?
That is from the PGA Tour's official meteorologist, Stuart Williams. That's the official forecast. I use an app. It's called Ventuski. Weird name. Some of you may have never heard of it. It is extremely popular among sailors and boaters because it's incredibly accurate, like to a very small area, so that if you're going sailing on the coast, you are able to see, okay, if I'm going to take this route, how close within a mile of this huge storm am I going to be? How do I get around it in a boat? And this is what they use. And this app is telling me that when I zero in on Valhalla, right?
Yeah.
There is a crap ton of rain on Friday. It's everywhere, but it is not right over the golf course. It's not. It's kind of around the golf course. However, on Saturday, it's kind of all over the golf course, and there's a lot of lightning.
What time?
So I actually think it's more likely that Saturday is going to be a problem than Friday. Just saying.
Wow, that's interesting. That's very interesting. We'll have to see how that plays itself out as well. As Don was talking about, continue to send your messages in, please, to the discussion board. We'll get to them when we can. Please hit the like button if you are consuming the show right now. Hit that like button because that definitely helps us. And I want to make sure that all of you are subscribed to our Fairways of Life channel on YouTube as well as the social media. You can see it right there on your screen because this week we're giving away a set at the end of this week, so probably be early next week, although I'm going up to NBC and this weekend. We're going to give away a set of Wilson forged irons. Beautiful set of clubs. I'll probably do a video piece on that today or tomorrow so that you guys can see what we're doing and see how beautiful these are and the technology that they have built into them. They're cavity back irons because remember back in the day when you could have used the word forged and interchanged that with the word blade when you're talking about an iron, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? Because a forged club is a stamped club. It's this huge press that presses it into reality from a soft carbon steel. And thus you have a forged club. Well, the technology that they use to make forged clubs today have changed dramatically because they can go in and they can actually custom mill what they want, where they need it, and how they want it to be done. They also can put tungsten and other weights where they want it. So I'll go through some of the technical aspects of the irons that we are giving away, but I can guarantee you that they're first of all, they're gorgeous, but I can guarantee you that they also will benefit the vast majority of golfers because of the way that they're designed, and then you get the benefit of this perfect soft feel. We gave away a Callaway AI smoke driver a couple of weeks ago, and so we're just going to keep going, and I enjoy doing it anyway, and so we have to figure out a way to make sure that it's fair in terms of who gets it, who potentially can win it, and we want to make sure that all of you have your chance. So make sure you subscribe to the Fairways of Life channel at YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to my social media channels, and that's where we get it from. What we do is we go in there and we do a random number generation, of which there's a zillion different sites that will do a random number generation for you. And once we get the number, the first thing we have to do is we check the individual and go, are they across the spectrum of where they need to be with our social media channels? Because that's one of the ways that we narrow down who the winner is going to be. So I'm flat out telling you how to give yourself the best chance of doing so, because we'd love to see you guys be the recipient of this beautiful, beautiful set of irons or anything else that's going to be in the queue afterwards. And I've got some really good stuff that I'm very excited to be giving to all of you guys as we move forward. As the Fairways of Life show moves forward this morning, when we come back, I do want to talk about the news about Rory because it's causing a lot of discussion right now. Obviously, people are very eager to hear from Rory. He's scheduled to speak at 3 p.m. this afternoon. As Dom said, it's been moved multiple times. I'm not sure if that's because Rory is it's working around his schedule, or maybe he's having second thoughts about addressing the media, wouldn't you? So anyway, we'll talk about that when we come back, as well as some interesting comments from some of these pressers yesterday and how they impact, I don't know, call it that bigger picture, call it that conversation that we all are starting to be like, do we really have to keep talking about this thing? Can you guys not just figure this out? But they were talking about it in the press room, and as a result, we're going to share some of those comments with you guys and get some reaction to the same right after this.
I got ball fit in 2000, went on a little run. Then Bridgestone fit me again, and I went on another run. I just got fit again for the new Tour BX. The ball fitting's been helping me. Will it help you?
Boyne Golf provides the ultimate world-class golf destination with 10 championship-caliber courses spanning 3 resorts. Centered in Michigan's northern Lower Peninsula, the courses are the products of some of the game's masters, including Robert Trent Jones Sr., Arthur Hills, and Donald Ross. From the all-inclusive vacation packages, elite instruction with the Boyne Golf Academy, tournaments, and so much more, Boyne Golf truly offers an unrivaled Michigan golf vacation experience. Just log on to BoyneGolf.com.
I think when you're training for other sports, or why most people go to the gym is so that they can have muscles and be strong and be healthy. And a lot of the reason why they struggle to play golf is their body doesn't move properly for them to be able to hit a golf ball. And when you're training for golf, it's a little bit different because you're focused more on flexibility and mobility and being strong in motion. When you're able to kind of have a warm up and have a workout routine and kind of gradually build up to where you're training your body to move properly, you're going to get a lot of big dividends on the golf course.
Every January, PGA Tour Superstore pros meet every manufacturer, learn about the latest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls. All so they can get you the perfect fit.
What if we started a company and the company was under no time constraints, no financial constraints? The one constraint is their clubs had to be exceptional performers and much better than any other alternative. I was told time and again it'll never work. It worked like a house of fire. And I'll tell you what, I think our customers love it. BXG, nobody makes golf clubs the way we do, period.
Stride by Zero Friction, the first of its kind personal caddy. Walk in comfort and style with Stride's remote and follow me technology. The Stride handles almost any terrain, and its 54-hole range will last all day. The lightweight design and removable front wheels makes it simple to handle. Plus, it easily fits golf carts. Pick up your Stride today at a local PGA Tour Superstore near you or at zerofriction.com/Stride. Stride, your personal caddy.
As we welcome you back to the Fairways of Life show. Early yet, but still, nonetheless, eve, the start of the PGA Championship. The weather is continuing to be a subject of concern. So be it. So news came out yesterday that Rory McIlroy and his wife have filed for divorce. It caused really massive news. I mean, TMZ are the ones that broke the story. TMZ kind of shows you we were talking about it in the show, but it kind of shows you that Rory, because of his popularity, has risen above the fold, as we used to say in media circles. That means that a story gets above the fold. It first of all, it has to be on the front page, but if you're above the fold on the front page, it means something. That's usually sports section. This kind of news, when you talk about TMZ, like him or dislike him, means that you're outside of the sports page. You've got that type of popularity. Josh Carpenter put out a tweet yesterday about Rory's victory at Wells Fargo, and it was up 34% from last year. 34%. So, and some people have been loving the news that ratings have been down on the PGA Tour, almost kind of like dancing on a grave type of approach to it. But then we see something like this happen. You go, oh, okay, so what you're saying to me is that when the people care, they still care. We'll see how it plays itself out at this PGA Championship. But are we also at a point of saying, well, we have to recognize, to what I just said, when they care, they still care. But on the other side of it, if they're not compelled, they're not blindly showing a loyalty or allegiance. It's got to be something that they're vested in, got to be something that they're interested in. We'll see how that plays itself out in the days that lie before us, particularly given the weather and the potential of delays and all the rest. We just have to see what happens with all that. The things that I've seen a lot of, and it's the nature of, call it discussion boards, call it social media, what have you, is how this filing of divorce is likely to impact Rory McIlroy. And I have found very much so that the answers that people give seems more so based upon what they hope to be the reaction and impact upon Rory McIlroy than anything else, if they like him or if they hate him. For my part, I look at it and say, you know what? I can't believe that all of a sudden Rory's going to be impacted by this reality, this new life that he's about to venture into. My guess is that the impact was felt long ago. And that's a relative term of measure, but at least some weeks or months ago. It might explain why we've seen from Rory McIlroy, by his standards, somewhat pedestrian finishes over the course of the season that has been. Now, for any other golfer, you'd look at what Rory McIlroy has done this season, and you'd go, you know, it really doesn't look that bad. A lot of top 25s. He had a win at the start of the season. He had a top 3 at the Valhalla Texas Open. It just wasn't the standard we expected from Rory McIlroy. Then all of a sudden he wins at the Zurich Classic. He wins at the Wells Fargo. And so I think that any belief that all of a sudden from the Wells Fargo victory to where we stand on this Wednesday before the PGA Championship is going to be a bridge that Rory has to cross with the heavy weight of what's going on in his life personally now upon his shoulders. My guess is that's a weight that he is already dispensed of. My guess is that whatever's circulating in his life, which is obviously private, he's already dealt with. And that the Rory that we're seeing now is the Rory that is spreading his wings and flying free of that burden. So when we talk about what Rory's prospects are for this PGA Championship, I think his prospects are every bit as good right now as we sit here as they were before we had that knowledge. Because I don't think Rory just decided on a whim that he was going to be a part of a divorce. I think that's something that they've probably been heading towards, whether overtly or whether in their own measure, for some time indeed. So those are my thoughts with Rory McIlroy and where he stands. Dom, you had a couple of different things that you said at the start of the show, which I don't know what they are. You said you wanted for us to hear them and to get a reaction, thoughts and reaction to. What is it? Where do you want to start?
Kind of sick of talking about like the policy board and the future of golf, and it just seems like every day there's more of this stuff coming out. But I think there's nuggets, and I think there's value, and I think there's interest around it. And the players keep feeding that beast. That's one. And two, the people who are talking, at least in my opinion, have tremendous value. Like their opinion has a lot of weight. We can start with Jordan Spieth, whose opinion has a ton of weight. He's on the board. He's one of the directors. He's in the meetings. Okay? These are just, I'm just going to read a couple. He talked for a long time about this stuff in his press conference. You can find all these pressers online. I would recommend you watch them if you're interested in this stuff. It's fascinating. But this from Jordan Spieth, I'll read a couple different things. Quote, "It's just balanced. It's not player-driven." He's discussing the board, the weight of the board now, having more players versus independent directors. "It's not player-driven. So you guys have got to stop saying that it's player-driven. It's not the case. It's balanced in a way that, at least from what I've heard from investors, tour management, and independents, they feel it should be. I think we're in a place where that's the case. We're being told that this is how it should be as well." He continues, quote, "I think things are unfortunately put in a really bad light right now. And I think things are actually in a really, really good place right now, based on what I know, which is quite a lot in this situation." I want to read that last sentence one more time. "I think things are actually in a really, really good place based on what I know, which is actually quite a lot in this situation." I think that's interesting. "I think things are moving forward at a speed that both sides are probably frustrated at each other at different times when they're trying to get a hold of each other. I mean, there's a lot of other things going on as well, but in general, everyone on our side, I believe, are rowing the boat in the same direction together, And I believe we're going to end up in a really good place, end quote. Those were thoughts from Jordan Spieth. Matt, any reaction to those comments?
A couple reactions off the top of my head. The first one is that in Jimmy Dunn's resignation letter, right, this is a person that's going out the door. So this person presumably at that point is not trying to play any political cards. It is not utilizing any platitudes, but just going, peace out, I'm gone. And he did not give any indication that things are rosy on the upside, but at the same time, in balance to that, he also said they're not soliciting my opinion, so maybe there's things that he doesn't know, in fairness to Jordan's comments. But he did say was, well, now because the players there's more players, it was almost as if, and I talked about this yesterday, it was almost as if somehow that's being presented as a problem, and then Jordan's coming on going, whoa, 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 it's not players driven, you guys got to stop saying that. It's balanced. Okay, here's my question. What's wrong with it being player-driven? What's wrong with the question that I asked of Carney earlier, where I said, Carney, we were always told that the PGA Tour belongs to the PGA Tour players. Now we're being told that a new commercial entity exists, and that new commercial entity exists that has stripped all of the commercial revenue out of the PGA Tour, which includes presumably television rights, are now in this new entity. But the players who owned the PGA Tour, so we were told, are being granted ownership, as they say, for the first time ever. We're told this is historic, first time ever. What do you mean first time ever? We've been told forever that you already owned it. But first time ever, they're being given grants of ownership that will vest over some period. And those grants are based upon a criteria of which we don't know fully or who are determining such. Okay, well, when the music stops, who doesn't have a chair? Where do you stand? It's very confusing, right? Now, having said all that, I'm an optimist, and I still believe that, when the dust settles, we'll be told what all this means. And maybe these questions will be answered because, honestly, I haven't heard anybody else ask the question that I just asked. How do you get granted ownership in something that I thought you already had ownership of, but this is a new entity, but the new entity had to take assets from the old one? Right? So there are some big questions there. I'm glad to hear that Jordan thinks that it's moving in a direction, that everyone's moving in the same direction or the correct way. It's odd given the things that we've now heard from Jimmy on the outside with his way out, from what we heard from Rory McIlroy talking about some old scars and et cetera, it not being put back on that board. Governance being used as the excuse for not putting him back on, that it's more complicated than what you think now that it's governance. But if that's the case, how did Tiger get on that board? Because there was we don't even know what his term is. Do we need to know? Is it our business? Maybe not. So it's the comments are interesting. The one thing that I'm taking away from it personally is I'm glad to hear that Jordan is optimistic that they're moving in the right direction. What's unclear is what exactly that direction is and who are the minds that currently are shaping it. Anything else, Dom?
Yeah, two more quick ones. The first one, Max Homa also spoke. Interesting comments, semi-related to what you're talking about. This from Max Homa. Yeah, it's been tricky talking about the situation that we're in. I do feel like the internet probably makes it worse than it really is. It's a very small community, and they're incredibly loud. So I think if you spend a lot of time on the internet, it does feel like professional golf is crumbling. It's tough to decipher because when you're on the grounds of events, it's amazing. Last week at Quail Hollow was awesome. Felt no different at Bay Hill. Felt no different at the Players. Felt no different. So it's odd. It doesn't feel like it's dying, yet you hear a lot of very valid complaints on the internet. So I think it's been very troubling. I don't like where it's going. It's got to be exhausting to be a casual golf fan at this point in time. I don't know why you would want to hear about the business side of this game, end quote. He went on to say, Matt, essentially that he doesn't think that fans should even know who's on the policy board. Why is that public and why does it matter? Thoughts?
I think Max is wrong. I love Max. I think he's a cool guy, but I think he's misreading this thing. I think he's incorrect. To state that social media skews negative is something that we all know, right? It's more than skews negative. It is negative. That's the nature of social media. It's the nature of, kind of keyboard warriors. It is what it is. However, in this case, we're not talking about the dialogue being shaped by the opinions of people who may be negative towards it for one reason or other, for or against. We're talking about the way every step along the way, every one. The comments that are made publicly are, the most important thing to us are the fans. The most important things to us are the fans. So, as fans, how does a fan register their vote? How does a fan show their reaction? You can't compare the body of fans against those that show up at an event. It's not a bad measure, but it's nowhere near in comparison. Right? Those that show up have a vested interest of being there. You can look at people that show up as a sample survey and go, well, it shows me that there's interest in what we're doing and that we're moving in a good direction. For example, you can use it that way. You can look that way with what Liv did in Australia, for example, and the crowds that they're bringing in. Good sign. Really good sign. By their measure, it was 93,000 people. That's good, especially when you compare it to a PGA Tour event. The signature event the week after the Masters had 115,000 people on site. And you go, geez, that's a comparable number. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's moving in the right direction. But it's still a sample survey compared to the fans at large. Right? People in the United States in some way, shape, or form that have touched the game of golf in a given year is 100 million people. Now, not all those people are golf, PGA Tour or Live fans or DP World Tour fans or Korn Ferry Tour or whatever. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that the pool that you were choosing from that in some way are touched by the game of golf is almost 1 out of 3 Americans. It's 100 million people just over. Now, it's defined by a lot of different ways, and I won't waste your time by getting into all those definitions because they do vary. But if you look at, okay, well, what is our best measure for the masses in terms of impact? And that's ratings. It goes back to what I was just telling you. How do you, as a fan, vote? You vote by passion. You vote by interest. And those that have a vested interest in what you like and dislike hope that you react to the advertising and the products and services that surround it. So up until last week, when, as I said, Rory McIlroy, he is the only thing right now that has moved the needle to that extent. Even a major championship just a few short weeks ago was down considerably in ratings, but not at Charlotte. At Charlotte, it was up 34%. Surrounding all of that, it has been down, and it's been down throughout the course of the season. There's plenty of reasons given to us as to why. Most notably, the reasons why are that people are just tired of the drama and the politics and the fighting that's going on outside the ropes. But when their imagination is captured, their ratings have gone up by 34% in the last week, surrounded by all these other weeks in which the ratings were down, and they were down considerably. So I don't think that it's opinions of social media that are skewing the true picture. I think the true picture is actual action that people take. And right now, when you talk about mass media, mass numbers, mass reaction, the best way to judge it is, where are you investing your passion? Where are you investing your time? And by the vast majority of what we're seeing, there is a diminishment of that investment of time and passion. And now you can get into what are the reasons why. So I don't think it's people being influenced by negative voices on social media, notwithstanding the fact that there are plenty of those, admittedly. I think it's because the direction that people are taking this right now has been wrong for so long. They're trying to correct the path, but it still always seems to be tainted with being reactionary. We know what the people want. And I'm not talking about we like it's some secret cabal. I'm talking about all of us right now. They want to see the best players play. They want to see the best players compete. They want to see it more often. They don't want to see just a division. They don't want to see just the fighting. They don't want to know about all the greed and all the rest that is surrounding each of the parties on either side. That's what I think is going on here. All right, so the last thing I wanted to talk to you guys today, and I will go through airtimes with you one more time before we say goodbye on this Wednesday and get ready to enjoy all of the golf that's coming up in the hours that are before us. I want to give you 3 dark horses so that if you are so inclined to drop a bet here and there, I think that we can have for you 3 players that you can benefit from. Right? You can go ahead, Andrew. You can reveal who we're talking about. The first player I want to talk about is Sam Burns. This golf course, which can be stretched to in excess of 7,600 yards, is a par 71, which means it's going to effectively even play longer than that, is going to be wet. We already know that the rough it already was thick, dense, long. Now it's going to be even more juicy. So, strokes gained off the tee, to me, and total driving are 2 critical stats area. Sam Burns' strokes gained off the tee is 28th. Strokes gained approach, he's 63rd. You could look at it and go, it's just above average. A little worse than average to define it. Strokes gained putting, though, he's 31st. His strokes gained total, he's 27th. But here's the key. His total driving. Now, total driving is a measure of both distance and accuracy. Sam Burns is 13th. So I think given the conditions that they're going to be subject to on the golf course, I think total driving is going to be an absolutely critical stat. Critical stat. Because if you get in that thick, wet, dense rough, I think you're going to have to chop it out. It's going to be hard to control the ball as much as you want to, either because of a flyer or because you just can't get solid contact on the ball. So you're going to have to use a higher lofted club to make sure you play it out safe. So those who have control off the tee, I think immediately go to, in my view, top of the list. Add to that, Sam Burns' putting average, he's 7th on tour. Odds, as of last check, 60-1. Next one. Keegan Bradley. He's won the PGA Championship before. Strokes gain approach. Right? Always a good stat. Always important. He's 20th. Strokes gain tee to green. Keegan Bradley is 39th. Total driving. Keegan Bradley is 38th. Solid. Greens in regulation. Keegan Bradley is 25th. The challenge for Keegan Bradley is strokes gain off the tee, he's 112th. So you hear that from me and go, wait a minute, that's opposite than everything you just said with Sam Burns. I'm recognizing that. What I'm telling you is his stat package outside of total driving is so solid that if he has control over his driver this week, and it's a degree, it's tiny when you talk about these players, better than what he normally does. And I'm not talking about getting him down into the top 10 or top 20, but on average, somewhere around 50 to 60th, Keegan Bradley could win this PGA Championship. His current odds are 200-1. And then probably the one that I'm the most excited about, because his odds, as of last check, were 300-1, is Erik van Rooyen. And I'll give you his stats package, call it. Strokes gain off the tee is 53rd. Solid. Strokes gain approach, 43rd. Again, solid. Strokes gain putting, it's a major. He's 19th. Total driving, 40th. Solid. Greens in regulation, he's 31st. Proximity to the hole, he's 29th, which means he's hitting some good, solid shots. I think Erik van Rooyen at 300-1 is worth a look. If you guys are so inclined, we did this for the Masters, and it benefited a lot of people. I got a lot of notes from people that sound like they owe me a pint somewhere, somehow, somewhere, sometime. But I'm hoping that of those 3, that if you were considering, that it's something that will benefit you too. Thank you so much for your company, folks. We're super excited about the start the PGA Championship. Here are the air times of how and when you can get your coverage once again, just so you know. And remember, this is only part of the total spectrum of coverage that ESPN is providing. But at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, ESPN Plus is where the coverage of the PGA Championship will begin. It ends on ESPN all the way up at 8 p.m. Thursday evening. Friday starts at the same time at 7 a.m. at ESPN Plus, once again ending at 8 p.m. on ESPN, as you can see. And then Saturday and Sunday, it's scheduled to be split between ESPN, ESPN Plus, and CBS. Fingers crossed that the weather is not as bad as it could be based upon some of the forecasts that we're seeing, so that we can see a lot of golf and that it finishes on time. Hope your time is well spent. Thank you for spending some of it with us. Until we are together again, be well and goodbye for now.